It can be quite mind-boggling when you realize that a lot of the time we have no idea what's flying through our skies sometimes. There's unidentified flying objects or animals beginning to fall from the skies. Here are mysterious things that happen in our skies. Number 12. Flying bacteria. Many wouldn't assume that bacteria could fly across the world. Most would assume they only wiggle around on your keyboard or on the door handle you just touched. That isn't totally the case, and you could be breathing in bacteria now as we speak. A few years ago, NASA scientists found over 300 types of bacteria in our upper atmosphere living in the clouds, and that was just a microscopic sample. These creatures are able to withstand such high altitudes, it's no wonder they'll be around much longer after humans. If flying bacteria could exist, what else could be out there within our atmosphere? Number 11. Spiders from the sky. Would anyone else think the world was coming to an end if they saw millions of spiders falling from the sky? That's probably what the residents of Goulburn, Australia were thinking when their whole town was covered in spider webs when we take a look at this photo. You would almost assume this was some sort of large-scale naturally occurring phenomenon. One witness reports the whole place was covered up with little black spiderlings, and when he looked up in the sky, it turned out to be a tunnel of spider webs going through hundreds of meters in the sky. Many spider babies were falling down, and the town really needed some scientists for this one. Similar incidents like this happen in towns of Brazil and Texas. They explained it as something called ballooning, where the wind causes spider webs to fly and they cover the floor. Still pretty crazy. Number 10. The Battle of LA. In 1942, a few months after the US declared war, lights and mysterious flying objects were reportedly seen flying over Los Angeles, and one of these objects hovered over the city for over an hour. Many anti-aircraft guns went off and fired at the object. Despite shooting off plenty of ammunition into the sky, the guns failed to shoot down any aircraft. The Air Force refused to send planes until they knew exactly what it was. Some claim it was the Japanese, while others believe something from out of this world. Differing eyewitness testimonies make it difficult to say exactly what it was, especially due to the cloudy conditions. Some remarkable photos were taken that might bring some proof to the incident. The photo shows light beams on a stationary flying object, and you can see some of the reflectors. Henry Stimson, the Secretary of War at that time, tried to offer an explanation that it was recon planes, but few citizens of LA actually believed that. The Japanese also denied any involvement after their surrender. Take a look at the photo and judge for yourself. Number 9. Arizona Lights. Would you be more likely to believe in UFOs if there was a mass sighting that took place by a major city with millions of people? Typically, people can clearly recognize what type of aircraft is flying through the skies, but sometimes it's just not possible. A CGI rendering that we see here shows what many witnesses would testify to seeing. Certainly this doesn't appear to be anything humans are capable of, so could it have possibly been an otherworldly being? Many believe yes, but according to the government, that would be ridiculous. The initial reports stated that in the Las Vegas area, they could hear sounds like rushing wind with 6 lights on one side. Then they saw it head over to Arizona, where reports of a reddish-orange light was seen in sight. And the same night, it was spotted in Phoenix, Arizona, and the government claimed it was from flares used to direct pilots. But that wouldn't make too much sense now, would it? Pilots claimed it was the biggest craft they've ever seen before and did not resemble anything we're capable of. Number 8. The F-15 Okinawa. With American air bases all over the Pacific, no wonder local governments are getting fed up with us overseas. Especially when idiotic stuff happens like this. Throughout history, it's been a strategic area for the US to deal with foreign policy in Asia. Although the Americans obtained Okinawa in the heat of battle, how long will military occupation last for? Just recently in 2015, an F-15 was involved in an accident which resulted in a crash into the Sea of Japan. But with all the strange things tending to happen here to the US, what else could it have been? Were the pilots drinking too much sake again? There's also been Osprey crashes and other crashes that fall into school buildings, so there's a bit of a tension here. The population density on this island is also quite dense. Environmental concerns with the rare and beloved dugong community who live near the beaches have brought protesters to the streets, including Greenpeace. But why the planes crash here so often, it still remains a mystery. Number 7. UFO sightings in Antarctica. A flurry of UFO sightings took place from several research stations in Antarctica in 1965. 5 meteorological observers noticed in the sky a strange mix of colors that wouldn't usually be there. They saw red and green lights while being put on Deception Island that were zigzagging and hovering over the land. But that wasn't all. The Argentinian base of Lori Island also had their sightings, where they claimed that the lights moved in a bizarre pattern and disrupted the electromagnetic field of their base. After more and more sightings began to pile up with clear UFO characteristics, the Argentine Navy released a press statement acknowledging the bizarre claims. Some photos came out as evidence, but it was kept confidential info for so long that no one's even had the chance to see them. Some believe that Antarctica is infested with UFO bases, and that's why you're not allowed to go there. Number 6. Chemtrails. The media has made it seem as though anyone who believes in chemtrails is a complete conspiracy nutjob who doesn't have the slightest touch with reality. But the truth is, the government has released documents confirming their existence. Some of the most evil testing on American citizens has been funded by the US government in one way or another, and weapons testing through the skies against the public has been utilized. In cities like San Francisco and St. Louis, the military wanted to see which ways to disperse chemical or biological weapons would work most efficiently. In St. Louis, the Gov released radioactive elements into the air across low-income neighborhoods to see what would happen. It was known for quite some time that they sprayed what they claimed was harmless zinc cadmium sulfide particles into the city. But recently, a professor at the St. Louis Community College says that there was radioactive particles mixed into the chemical compound. What other things could they be spraying in modern times, and can it be done to change the weather? Light pillars. This strange, bizarre phenomenon tends to take place more often than not near cold places near the South or North Pole. It might be occasionally happening in places like Arizona or San Francisco, but don't bet your money on it. If you live somewhere cold, you might notice that there's so many ice crystals that they begin to act like a giant mirror, reflecting the sun and creating light pillars like these ones in Wyoming. In colder places, there's more likely of a chance to see multiple light pillars. The appearance of the light beam you see in this photo is in fact an illusion, and what you're actually seeing are the reflections of only the ice crystals that are lined in a vertical formation. But still, keep your distance in case it's an alien. Number 4. Chinese satellite crash. If you watched one of our recent Unsolved Mystery videos, you might recall how the Tiangong-1 space station was going to crash somewhere on Earth. It was a mystery exactly where it was going to land. This was an 8.5-ton module that was entering Earth's atmosphere. The Chinese had lost all control of it and had warned others about their error. They also warned that the debris could be slightly toxic to whatever it makes contact with. You might have been slightly concerned about where this thing was going to land and if it was going to fall somewhere near you. About a month ago, it finally crashed in the South Pacific, far away from humanity. It mainly burnt up and possibly wasn't as dangerous as we once thought. It's still quite frightening to know that something is going to fall and cause some destruction if it did so in your neighborhood. This time, we're safe, guys. Number 3. Mysterious cloud formations. You probably already noticed how occasionally the clouds might seem strange after chemtrails are present, but what other clouds can bring you intrigue? If you saw this cloud forming in the near distance, you'd probably assume the end is near and there's nothing else you can do about it. It's what's known as an anvil cloud, and typically it means a storm is coming. Mysterious clouds have brought fear to ancient civilizations, thinking one of their gods was going to bring an end to them. As we saw before how bacteria could form in clouds and travel, could something a little bit bigger possibly form from the unique conditions of clouds? Possibly a lamprey monster? Some even believe that the Chinese have already begun construction of a city in the clouds after a strange video was captured. Number 2. Iguanas falling from the sky. What if it wasn't something dangerous like an asteroid falling from the sky, but instead a stunned iguana coming from above? During the past winter, Miami had record low temperatures, which didn't bode well with the local iguana population in the city. Lizards are of course cold-blooded, and they prefer warmer climates. This tweet here suggested letting them thaw out a little bit. Despite them being an invasive species, iguanas can serve as helpful creatures in the fight against mosquitoes. Passers-by were shocked when frozen iguanas were literally falling from the skies due to not be warm enough. Either the iguanas were left in a catatonic state or perished from the fall. And number 1, Operation Starfish Prime. The South Pacific has been home to many mushroom clouds in the past, and it's also been home to some very mysterious experiments by the US. The skies above Johnston Island were used for atmospheric testing, which certainly had some shocking results. They thought it could have been possible to shoot down a nuke with a nuke and kind of wanted to see how that would go. On July 9, 1962, a 1.4 megaton explosion was detonated at an altitude of 250 miles. This resulted in a massive electromagnetic pulse across the area. It was dubbed Operation Starfish Prime, and it created a massive fireball in the sky, knocking out communications as far away as Hawaii. Many people are still curious as to whether or not rogue nations possessing nuclear weapons such as North Korea would detonate a nuke this far above our atmosphere and bring destruction to our fragile electrical grid.